Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today, what I wanted to do is showcase what I believe to be 8 of the top maps to run in patch 3.17. This is a fair way into the league, and we've had a bit of time to experiment with things now, get a bit of a sense as to what divination cards got moved to what new locations. There's a lot of divination cards were added to new locations in 3.17, and get a bit of a sense as to how the new mechanics of the 3.17 Atlas work. So the 8 maps I want to cover here are Tower, Coves, Cemetery, Dunes, City Square, Mesa, Promenade, and Ashen Wood. If your favourite map's not on this list, then maybe give these a shot and then go back to running your favourite map if you're not won over. The first general point I want to make though is the importance of predictability. With the new influence types, you can constrain the altar choices that are available by strategic timing of when you kill a map boss. This is easier to do in some map tilesets than others, depending upon where the boss is. As an example, for Expedition, the min-maxed way to do it is to kill the map boss first before you encounter any of the altars. Then all of the altars will give you the option of a player affecting mod, some of which will juice up the loot of the Expedition encounter. If you kill the map boss after encountering most of the altars in the region, then some of them will not give you a player affecting debuff, and as a result, you will get less loot out of your Expedition. So other strategies may want to do the exact opposite and kill the map boss dead last, after clicking every single altar. And again, some of the various map layouts will suit that style better than others. So in this situation, what you want to do is to maximize Eldritch currency drops, for example, you will want to prioritize clicking every single altar, select as many things as possible that make the map boss harder, and then when you do kill the map boss, you will receive more Eldritch currency than you would otherwise receive. Predictable boss locations give you agency here, and it's a big factor in what makes a map make this list. Let's start by discussing Tower, and I'm going to put some footage of a Tower map run in the background now. So Tower is an extraordinarily good map. It has a great divination card in the Nurse. The Nurse is 1/64th of a Headhunter, and whilst this card is rare, it still adds an appreciable amount to the expected value of every single map that you run. You'll find that if you're running Towers with Polished Divination Scarabs, you should average about 10 to 15 chaos worth of nurses every single map that you do, and the more that you juice it up beyond that, the even more and more and more you will end up making from these nurse cards. That said, you will have dry spells. You will sometimes go 30 maps without a nurse sometimes, and that's going to be really painful when it happens. Now, Tower lost an important divination card that it had in 3.16. It used to have the Wretched. A lot of maps gained new divination cards in 3.17. Tower went the other way and got worse. However, even without the Wretched, the Nurse is enough to carry this map and make it definitely worth your while considering. This is a straightforward layout that's broken down into about 5 sections, which are all pretty much corridors that bend around a little bit. It has corners that you can use tactically if you wind up in a situation where you bite off more than you can chew in a fight. However, those very corners make it bad for Breach encounters and for Legion encounters. That's because it constrains the amount of space that's available for monsters to spawn in, and as a result, sometimes you will feel like you get a lot less monsters with those mechanics. I would not recommend running Tower with a Breach strategy at all. If you're interested in a Breach strategy, then consider one of the maps later on this list, like Promenade. Now, the boss of Tower is the worst part of the map. It is always dead last, and the fight itself is awful. With the new Eldritch influences, you are definitely going to want to kill the boss when you've juiced it up. When you've clicked altar mods that say that it's going to drop additional rewards, you're going to want to kill it. The problem with the Tower boss is that it just takes ages. It's a 3-phase fight. The middle phase will often go into an extended invulnerability phase, and the third phase has a couple of lethal attacks that you have to dodge at all costs. So for that reason, I have to say that Tower is a very, very, very bad map from a boss perspective. That said, as an overall package, Tower, pretty good. Next we have Coves. Coves has an amazing layout. The boss location, however, is hard to pinpoint, so it's bad for strategies that want to do the boss dead first or dead last. Now, you can always run past the boss, assuming that you don't one-shot them. You can always run past them and come back later if you're running a strategy that wants to kill a boss dead last, but this involves annoying backtracking and is usually not worth it. The boss is absolutely trivial in the Coves map, and there are a few corners, but they are present, so I'm going to put this down as a B tier for Breach and Legion. And that's because it just has a couple of spots that will sometimes interfere with the smooth operation of a Breach or a Legion. But ultimately, this is a wheel with 4 spokes. You start in the middle, the boss will be somewhere on the outside, and you just want to go out through one of the spokes, do a full circuit around, and then you're done. You'll get the boss and you'll kill everything in the map doing that. Cemetery is the next map we want to discuss, and this one is a mixture of Cove and Tower in some ways. Now, this has a great divination card, which calls back to Tower. It has Brother's Stash, which is a single set, so it's a singleton card that is its own set, and it gives you 5 Exalted Orbs. Now, this card is genuinely rare. I suspect it, and I could be wrong on this, I believe it to be about 3 times as rare as the Nurse. Now, it's rare, but it's quite a bit more common than any other 3+ Exalt card. So you will see it occasionally, but it is still a rare treat when it drops. The boss of this map is easy once you know the fight. The key thing you need to know to do this fight is that when it's roaring, the most dangerous thing isn't the boss itself, it is the spitting that's coming out of the cracks on the ground. It can be very hard to see, but that is the thing that will kill you in the Gruthkul fight. It's a somewhat predictable layout, less so than Tower, but more so than Coves. There are a few corners in this map, but not quite none, and so it's not an S tier map for breaches, but it is pretty good. Dunes is the next map I want to call out as a great choice. This has the same strengths as Coves. It's better for Breach and Legion, and that's because it is just so wide open. There is more running around, however, which is generally a net negative. I would suggest this map for certain if you are playing a Deadeye character. It is absolutely fantastic on a Deadeye. The boss of this map can be a little bit lethal while you're learning it. It's a very easy fight that seems like it's based on Hillock. The thing that you need to watch out for, though, is that when he jumps on you, when he does a leap slam on you and spawns a bunch of zombies at your feet, when those zombies die, they will leave absolutely lethal caustic ground at their feet. And if you instantly kill them, or let's say you've got a Mirage Archer up that's capable of one-shotting those monsters, then you will wind up in a world of hurt if you get hit by this attack. Basically, if you see the boss leap slamming at you, you need to get out of the way. Next up is City Square. The boss is always in the same place and very, very, very close to the start of the map. This is really, really useful. All you need to do is walk out into the actual City Square itself. Usually you can do this while finding no more than one of the Eater of Worlds altars. So that means that if you're running a strategy that wants you to kill the map boss dead first, then you've picked a good map for it. However, just be aware that the boss of this map is very, very dangerous with some mods. I want to particularly call out anything that causes them to have multiple projectiles. That is really dangerous for the map boss here. The trio nature of the fight makes the damage inherently spikier, so whilst you might be able to endure all 3 of them hitting you at once, as long as they don't line up their attacks, sometimes they will sync up their attacks, and that can sometimes kill you. And burst damage from the Magma Orb can be off the charts. If you're in hardcore, then you should run Mesa instead, even if you think City Square would be a little bit better. Likewise, if you're above level 97 and trying to level, you should probably run Mesa instead. Now, we were just talking about Mesa. Mesa is basically just like City Square. Boss is always in the same place, very, very close to the start, and this is an extremely straightforward map. You run around the outside once, and then you run around the inside, and while you're running around the inside, you can go to the boss. Or alternately, if you're doing a strategy like Expedition that makes you want to kill the boss absolutely first in the map, then you can just run an absolute beeline to that boss, kill the boss, and then go out and clear the 2 external layers of the map. Highly recommend Mesa if you are running an Expedition strategy. I believe that this is the absolute best map on the entire Atlas. If you're running an Expedition strategy, you should pair it with an Eater of Worlds Atlas strategy, and I will put a link in the description below to the video that I put out on my Project Expedition, which was a lot of fun and was all about optimizing Mesa and the kill the boss first strategy on 8 mod tier 16 maps with Expedition Scarabs. Next up is Promenade. I did another short video on this and the reception to it was pretty positive, so that was the reason that I ended up putting together a top 8 list. This is a tower-esque layout in the sense that it is very, very long and straightforward, although it doesn't have the doors either. It's very linear with only tiny amounts of backtracking, but minus some of the corners that plague Tower. It still has corners, but there's just not very many of them. This has the best divination cards of any map in the game, in my opinion. It has the Patient and Dying Anguish, which are both somewhat common. Now, the Patient is a 25 Chaos-ish drop, Dying Anguish is a 5 Chaos-ish drop, especially if you get them in bulk. But the fact that you get both of them makes it better than any other map that's around. You might also get the Warlord. Now, I can't confirm this. I've personally seen the Warlord drop twice in Promenade map, but they both drop from Chaeola Breach encounters, And so I'm not sure if it's a Chayula Breach linked encounter or whether it is a Promenade tileset drop. I don't know there, but I have seen it drop in this map. The boss is completely trivial in this encounter once you know what to expect, and that makes things better too. Lastly is Ashen Wood. I'm going to skip the video on this one because it's really straightforward and you can just run it yourself and find out. This has the advantage of being able to be horizoned into. So what I mean by that is you take any tier 16 map, doesn't matter what its voidstone count is, apply horizon orbs to it, and on average within 4.2 horizon orbs, you will end up with an Ashen Wood. The layout here combines the open nature of dunes with the compactness and unclear boss location of Coves. There is less running around than there is in the dunes map, and the boss is trivial. I really like this map with Beyond strategies because it's so compact, and as a result, I find it just works really well. All the monsters feel quite close to each other in Ashen Wood, and that's something I think is really useful. Another thing with Ashen Wood that I quite like is that you have some of Tower's benefits of having corners that you can use tactically. There's a number of low walls in there that you can jump over, and when you find those, you can zap around them to use them tactically in a fight, and that can help make you more able to survive if you bite off more than you can chew. For divination cards, I'm putting Tower as A tier, Cemetery as A tier, and Promenade as S tier, due to the cards that you see listed here. For Breach and Legion, Tower I'm putting as a C because there's many corners, Coves as a B+, Cemetery as A, Dunes as S, it's the best of the lot, S tier, so it's fantastic. City Square as A, Mesa as B, Promenade as B+, it has more corners than it looks like it has, and Ashen Wood is also a B+. Maybe Ashen Wood could be an A. For the Delirium Mirror, if you're planning to run Delirium Mirror strategies, Tower and Promenade are the best map options by far. So they're S tier, Cove, City Square, and Mesa are C tier, Cemetery and Ashen Wood B tier, and Dunes is A tier. Anyway, that's a bunch of maps that I think are worth your while considering in 3.17. If you got any comments or questions, definitely fire away below. Otherwise, me or Varlorbs have interesting results.